if you're on your music journey, you need patience, proper patience, because this idea of blowing up in 3 years and it just happening, and then you just getting growing and growing and growing, it doesn't exist. It does happen, but this is an exception. This is not the rule. So people blow up in 1, 2, or 3 years, and I'm going to go on to examples later, but like in the general term, you don't blow up in 3 years into from the day that you start making music. There's nothing wrong with if that happens, but I think there are advantages and disadvantages to both. So if you slowly grind and it takes 10 or 15 years for you to actually start feeling momentum, the demoralizing feeling comes on these peaks and troughs on the way. However, if you blow up in 3 years and then you start, and then things start inevitably troughing, then you're going to find it harder in that trough, and you're not really going to know how to deal with it. So the slow grind is going to enable you, it's going to give you the skills and the foundations for you to be able to handle the ups and downs of the journey. And also on your way up, so within that 10 or 15 years where you're earning absolutely nothing from your music, there's a chance you're going to be doing other work that is going to contribute to your music career, whether that be any kind of job that you do. Even if you're a delivery driver, I don't know, it's going to help in some way, because if you're driving a van, your driving skills are going to get better, and by the time you come to driving yourself to gigs, you're going to know so many more places. You know, there really is so many examples of stuff that you do outside of music is going to help in your music journey. I've done so many jobs. I used to be a delivery driver. I've also built websites. I've taught people. I've done lots of teaching. You know, all of that stuff now helps me. And obviously, in that space of time that I've spent doing those jobs, I was a pretty good delivery driver, but for the most part of all the other jobs I had, I wasn't like entirely focused 100% on it, because I was also learning my craft in music as well. I would come back and I would spend all my time doing music. So it was a tough balance for, like, I don't know, it was for about 11 or 12 years until I started seeing some real progress, to be honest. And I think it helps because I'd like to think I can handle pressure a bit more. It's given me time to learn how to perform as a DJ as well. So I used to use Snapchat quite a lot in like 2017, and like a memory come up the other day, and I was like DJing, and the club looked really good. I can't remember what club it was. It might have been in Kent, in Maidstone somewhere, I think, but I don't think the club is open now. But it looked like it was popping. But my performance, you could tell it was someone else was like recording me. You could tell I was more like static. I wasn't, I was in my journey. You know, it was, I don't know, 8 years ago now or something. I'm not too great at maths, but like, you know, I was still learning. So like, and I was, I must have been getting paid very, very low back then, to be honest. You know, but those were my training years. So it enabled me to just keep learning and growing. So I wasn't, but there were people who were younger than me at that time who had absolutely smashed through the scene, and it is really easy for you to think that that's the norm and that's normal. And if you're not smashing through the scene or causing or having everyone talking about you online, then you're not doing it right. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. If you're like, it's good to hang around with people that do blow up really, really quickly, so that you can get inspired. I hung around with, some examples of me, like I used to go with Molly Collins to her gigs. I used to go with Benny L to his gigs, and like those guys were, those two in particular were, they really did smash through the scene. And so often at times I used to think like, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I, like, why have I not smashed through? But then I learned that it wasn't really exactly necessary for me to blow up in 1, 2, or 3 years. And I've said this before, but I was working pretty hard on music for probably about 10 years or 11 years until a track of mine would properly turn the heads of lots and lots of DJs that had never heard of me before. So, but I did have a fan base before that. Don't get me wrong. I started to grow my core following from day one, and you can do that. And that I feel is the most important thing. It's not about being certified from it does help being like certified from someone like AMC, for example. He's talked really, really positive about me in interviews before. That has helped. Big A-list DJs playing your tracks, that really, really helps. But honestly, your core fans, and it was Mackie G that told me this when I first started releasing on his label. He started talking about, he would talk to me about, you and your fan base, he would refer to it. And that made me realize like, I just assumed that, if I'm releasing on Mackie G's label, it would just be the fans of the label. But he was saying, no, your fan base, and we need to, asking me about, what do your fan base like and how should we post, etc., etc. So start gathering that information now and start feeling like, what do your fan base and followers, what are they like, or how can you interact with them, and how can you be there for them as well, whether it be just replying to stories on your Insta, resharing their posts if they see you playing and they tag you and they don't follow you, talk to them and reply to them and just say thank you. To be honest, that stuff does go a long way, I think. And yeah, some other examples. So, in more recent times, if you're in the drum and bass scene, that is, for example, I'm just going to go through some, off the top of my head, some examples. As of late, so lately, like off the top of my head, FMS, he really, really smashed through the scene. Big up to him. We went back to back in Belgium the other day. But he, he's a young guy, he smashed through and he's got a lot of popularity, and this happened for him within a couple of years, but he has been grinding for many, many years prior to that. Amplifier, same thing. When he smashed through, honestly, he was massive, and he got nominated every year, he'd won awards, and he'd been grinding years before that, working with people in the industry as well, and learning and picking up skills. So often when you see people that smash through in 1 or 2 years, it's not because they just got given really easy opportunities. It was years of graft prior to that you hadn't seen. But the fact that it doesn't happen for you within 3 years doesn't mean that you weren't grinding as well. But just know that sometimes, speaking from someone with experience that this happened to, that it can take you 12 or 13 years before people start bothering to take notice. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, why hasn't it happened for me yet? And what am I doing wrong? Just know I don't know personally, but you're probably not doing anything wrong. You just need to show up more consistently. You're building, you're growing, and you're learning as well. And that's the important thing. So yeah, honestly, patience. Even for myself, I'm just doing this to remind myself as well for patience. I do these videos to share my thoughts, but also to remind myself as well, because we're all learning together. So yeah, remember, patience and enjoy the ride. And I'll see you on the next one.